Make some noise if you are ready!
If you've ever watched a UFC match, that is a cage fight designed for maximum drama, unapologetic about how combative and in your face it is, then you've just had a taste of one of President Donald Trump's favorite forms of entertainment.
I know that you're a genuine fight fan. I am.
Trump and the UFC have history. His properties hosted UFC fights in the early 2000s.
In the beautiful Trump Taj Mahal.
Trump has attended numerous matches over the years, the latest just last month in April. And one of Trump's key operatives, a man in his inner circle, Cheung, used to be the director of communications for the UFC. Now, he leads the communications team at the White House.
Cheung was in comms for UFC for several years before joining the Trump administration. And he was known as one of these heavy hitters who did things like remove people who did not agree with the administration, which is something that he took from his time at UFC. If there was someone who challenged UFC, that person would not get access.
And here's my colleague, Cheung.
So Cheung is quite well known as a figure who doesn't really take prisoners.
Crooked Joe Biden and his campaign are in complete freak-out mode.
So he's a big fan of using cuss words and mean words and kind of scapegoating people and discrediting them. So that's also partially where you might see this memeification of communications from the White House coming from. He's sort of the attack dog, right? And he is trusted by Trump himself.
The primary reference point, not just for speechwriters, but also for people running the official social media accounts, is the president's own voice.
What the hell did I do for democracy? Last week I took a bullet for democracy.
The effort to recreate that sort of brash, in-your-face tone that Trump is so famous for. It's a much more in-your-face, much more attention-seeking way of running these accounts. The Department of Defense is regularly putting out viral content. The White House itself is putting out viral content. And this is a significant departure from how things were done before.
There is a template, a norm in government communications. The presentation is formal, the language official, even legalistic, and the tone is meant to be non-partisan. This straight-laced style has loosened up in the past few years. This picture was tweeted by the Obama White House on so-called National Cat Day in 2015. As Joe Biden tried to battle reports of his forgetfulness and old age, he leaned into this meme, pitching him as a Superman, a strategic mastermind. And Trump and his team were into memes even in the first term. They kept it off the White House social media, but it was all over Trump's own account.
The first Trump administration was also quite a fan of kind of short and catchy slogans, right? Lock her up, build the wall.
Drain the swamp!
And nowadays, we're seeing a continuation of that trend. And alongside that, right, there's this idea that strength comes from being able to do what you want. This strength of a fighter, right? This strength through force, this strength of being able to enforce your will onto others.
The meme as tool is extremely powerful. Social media is omnipresent. It's what people look at when they wake up in the morning. It's what they look at right before they go to bed. This administration and the campaign that preceded it is one of the first to really tap into it in a deliberate and knowing way. Many of them are single images or short videos, which tends to be promoted by social media algorithms.
If you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face.
If you'll take the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, standing in front of an El Salvadorian prison, you don't have to understand the legalities, you do not have to understand the technicalities in order to parse the picture. You see individuals who are stripped down, behind bars, assembled in ways that are honestly evocative of slavery. So it's a show of force and dominance that's being used to communicate about what immigration should be, about who should be criminalized.
I think that the dehumanization or the cruelty critique tends to miss the point. These memes are effective. The more you talk about people who are getting deported to El Salvador, the more that the American people see that a lot of these people are violent criminals and should be sent back if possible. And to that extent, it blunts a lot of the procedural critiques of the Trump administration's tactics, which are shared not just on the left, but also on the right. Not everybody is happy about the way this is being done, but it draws attention away from that to a visual, concrete moment where a promise was delivered on.
From the bombastic profile description, to the Trump trumpeting posters, to the smiley clips of the White House press secretary,
let's roll through everything President Trump did for you, the American people.
the social media accounts of the Trump White House are a study in rule-breaking, norm-busting government messaging. The perfect illustration of this approach was contained in this post. The subject was a woman convicted of drug trafficking. Not only did the White House share a photo of her crying at her arrest, but they took that photo and made it into a cartoon, mimicking a Japanese animation style that had been a viral trend for about a week or so in March.
It is a dramatic enough photo to see this person handcuffed and being led away. That is a striking and dramatic image enough to say that we're being tough on crime. However, the Trump White House takes this a step further and renders this picture in the Studio Ghibli style. And that should give us some pause. These are not laughing matters. If, as the caption says, fentanyl has been as harmful as we can count with American deaths and the impact on our economy, and this is a person who is part of that trade, there's no reason for an animation treatment.
It appealed to the younger base, which tends to be very concerned about immigration specifically. It captured a moment in the zeitgeist. And I mean, it was a success. It was shared a great deal, including by people who hated it. Outrage or strong feeling tends to make people interested, get them to share it with other people, even if it's in disgust.
For the Trump communications team, any attention is good attention. This report, even with all its critiques, is ultimately a form of audience engagement. And that, along with the hammering home of the Make America Great Again message, is what the White House is focused on. Steve Cheung, once with the UFC, now with the Trump team, has molded this approach, and it's a perfect fit for Donald Trump's presidency.
So this is part of his ethos. It is to strike fast, strike hard, to be confrontational. And I think we see the direct imprint of it in White House communications. Memes will reach people who don't watch the news, who don't read newspapers, who don't even like to talk about politics. It's a way to bring them into the conversation. It's a targeted and specific and frankly smart way to engage more supporters, more people who will donate and give their dollars, time, and attention to this particular administration.
Cheung has been a revolutionary presence in some ways. I think that he will be remembered as one of the great comms operators in American political history. He has a lot of the glory and, depending on how you see it, a lot of the blame for the success of this approach. And one of the reasons Cheung has been so successful is that he has integrated his own style with that of the president's. Very little goes out through the official channels that does not at least implicitly have his imprimatur.